Hi. So at the end of my last video about Amber and Aunt Tammie, I said that I didn't think that Amber and Aunt Tammie were going to have this live phone call. Boy, was I wrong. They did have it. There's a lot to say about it, so that's what we're going to do in this video. I've been through the call and I've picked up on the bits which I think are the most interesting, the most telling, which give us something of an insight into Mamalynn, Amber and Tammie's relationship, Amber's character and her past and all of that, as well as Tammie's motivations, and we're going to get into that in this video. Do feel free to go and watch the live if you want to. Amber's live stream views are doing extremely well at the moment, which I think is probably why she's deleted her upload schedule. Why bother editing when she can just sit there and talk shit and make the money anyway? So the live stream starts with Amber reading out this message that she got from a subscriber. The message is basically, in my opinion, just somebody jerking Amber off, but here are some of the highlights.
You're 100% right. This situation is insane. Like others have said, I always haven't been on your side, but I've been watching you for 9 years. That's a long time. So I've seen you lie and then admitted it afterwards. And this is clearly not one of those cases.
And sure, this call with Aunt Tammie is technically not one of the cases where Amber's lied and then admitted it afterwards, but nobody said it was. We're saying that this is a case of Amber refusing to listen to her aunt's point of view, so that's different. I'm also properly horrified by how smug Amber is as she's reading out this message. She's almost acting like she's reading from some sort of ultimate book of truth or book of hard evidence. It's very, very weird. Amber goes on to read this.
Anyone not taking your side in this is blind. Anyone who believes that this is okay for an aunt to be talking about her niece to a hate-based reaction channel is mentally unwell, as she is.
So here, again, we kind of see more mental health shaming from Amber. Stay classy, girl. But I disagree so much with this person, and I think it's funny because they're saying that reactors or people who disagree with Amber have no nuance. But I think that to make any kind of sweeping statement like that, anyone who thinks X is an extremely black and white and lacking in nuance way to think of things. So I thought that was kind of funny. I've skipped a boring bit of this comment here, but then Amber keeps reading, and this person addresses Tammie's motivations and the timing of her coming out to talk about Amber.
I feel so bad that this is happening to you, and I can't help but feel like she timed it to line up with the whole Tommy drama. Ew.
Now, this ew is obnoxious and weird, but I think once again, this is just Amber completely misunderstanding the point. It's not that Tammie did this now to join in on the Emily drama or kick Amber while she was down. It's that the way that Amber acted during the Emily drama was a perfect demonstration of Amber doing the behaviour which led Tammie to have an issue with her. Lying, not caring about her own health, being violent and awful. And I think that Tammie seeing this kind of gave her a kick up the butt to go, no, Amber's not going to keep getting away with this. And I think that that is why Tammie has come out now. I'm not saying there isn't probably some motivation from revenge maybe, or enjoying seeing Amber get her just desserts, but from what it sounds like Amber's done to Tammie, I kind of understand why Tammie would feel that way and would want to do that. Amber goes on during the call with Tammie to really make out that she's never done anything to Tammie at all in the last 2 years and make it seem like Tammie has kind of done this out of nowhere. But as we'll go on to see, that's really not the case. The person then goes on to say this.
I also have BPD and CPTSD, and I have done some wacko, nasty shit in my past because of it, and I would never, ever, ever hurt my animals. People, though, unfortunately, sure. My pets, never. Which,
So here Amber makes a little gesture to herself. She goes which, and then touches her chest to kind of almost indicate herself. And this kind of read to me as Amber admitting that she has hurt people. And there are so many issues with this. And also I think that the person who wrote this message is definitely also an arsehole. The way that they say they have BPD and they've done some nasty shit in their past because of it, it's just kind of odd to me. So clearly they need to take accountability and sort out their shit and go to therapy as well. How telling is it that the only person that Amber can find to defend herself is another individual who thinks it's fine to be awful to others and blame it on BPD. Saying unfortunately sure to hurting people is actually kind of wild. The messages go on a little bit, but this person, in my opinion, I really do think they seem like a bit of a jerk. But of course, Amber absolutely loves them and loves their message because she has no critical thinking skills and loves anyone who bolsters her fragile ego. She says this.
so I replied, and in capital letters, I was like, can I please read this out loud in my next live stream? I will keep your name private and everything private. I just literally love everything that you were saying and appreciate it so much.
So this person says that they've hurt people due to their BPD, and Amber says that she loves everything that this person has said. I guess that figures, huh? The person then says this.
I fully believe that you are a good person who does bad things. I think many people watching now can look into their hearts and see the same within themselves. It is so important to have nuance when scrutinizing the actions of somebody with a personality disorder. It literally impacts your day to day decision making because it impacts your personality. BPD is caused by severe child harm and neglect. Giving somebody with a past like yours a huge platform, displaying your addictions and flaws to the world, then expecting you to act totally, completely normal is unempathetic. Everyone who watches you just to criticize, completely aware of your illness, are ill themselves and needs to take a long, hard look in the mirror, log off the internet, and be a better person.
So a few things in this section. Calling Amberlynn Reid a good person who does bad things, I think, is pretty insane work. Are we supposed to accept that, oh, okay, you're still a good person deep down, even though you've lied about SA, lied about DV, possibly let your cat out on purpose, but definitely lied about it either way? You've taken part in an extramarital affair. You've effectively stolen somebody's inheritance, even though you make thousands of dollars a month and you haven't given them it back. You've financially, emotionally, physically hurt your ex-partners. You lie to your audience regularly. And that's just the stuff that I could think of without even digging into my brain at all. But sure, no, you're still a good person deep down under all of that. I think that's an insane take. And then we get this incredible gem. The person says that we, the viewer, the commentary channel, expect Amber to be normal. But we don't expect Amber to be normal. Nobody thinks that Amber has a normal life. I think it's pretty fair and pretty common for people to accept that, no, Amber's life is not normal. She had an insane childhood. She lives life in a, 570 at this point, maybe, pound body. She's super famous in a very small niche part of the internet. She makes lots and lots of money by sitting at home and talking into her phone. There is nothing normal about Amber, I don't think, and nobody expects that. We don't expect normal, we expect accountability. So that was the comment that Amber read out at the start. I wanted to mention this and kind of cover it because I think it's a perfect example of Amber wanting to live in an echo chamber and only wanting to hear opinions of people who agree with her. In a moment, we're going to cover the call between Amber and Tammy, but first, let's take a little look at how Amber acted before this call. At the end of her last live, Amber says that she's more than happy to speak to Tammy on a call. She wants Tammy to square up. Those were her exact words. Watch this and just take in like this energy, this cocky vibe that she speaks with when she's talking before she's spoken to Tammy.
Maybe me and Amber need to get on a live and compare receipts and stories and see how that goes.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Get the fuck on my live, Tammy. Get the fuck on my live. We can do this. Square up. I'm ready for it. I am ready for it.
I mean, I'm happy to be the medium here, but...
You're not going to be the medium, love. She's coming to my live. I'm not going on yours. Remember when you said no to me before? Fuck no. I will never be on your fucking channel.
I don't know if she's interested in talking with you.
Quirky.
No, probably not.
Probably not.
Oh, I'll talk to her. I'll talk to her real good. I'm not scared. I know my truth. I'm very confident in my truth and myself. Took me a long time to get there, but I'm here.
Now just hold that in your mind. I'm sure you've seen this already, but the way that she speaks, the energy, the confidence, the aggression, she says she's ready to go. She's got the receipts. But then when the time came for Amber's live stream, she posted this now deleted community tab. She didn't go live, the call never happened, and I thought this meant that the call wouldn't happen at all, but obviously I was wrong. The call did happen, and Amber acted completely differently, like a total 180 from how she was acting when she said, "Square up, Tammy, square up." She acted completely different.
Oh, I'll talk to her. I'll talk to her real good. I would like to speak, please.
Not only did Amber melt off completely when she was confronted by Tammy's, harsh tongue and her straight facts, but Amber also didn't act in any way how I would have expected her to act on this call. And at first, it worked on me. I was like, oh my God, she's so mature. She's really grown. She's not shouting. She's not being abusive. aggressive. And then I twigged, oh no, of course not. She's doing that on purpose. We'll get into that in a second. So the call starts out, and I will say that for every word that Amber says, Tammy says about 100. Tammy takes Amber's shelf and hands it to her during this call. If you're a long-time Girl World viewer and you know what kind of person Amber is, you will have taken some kind of joy in seeing this call happen, because Tammy was so fantastically direct and told Amber what she needed to hear, but we will get into that as well in a little while. But when we start out the call, Amber seems to have some bollock left. She asks Tammy why she's doing this now, and this will be a theme of the call. Amber purposefully misunderstands what Tammy is saying so that she can attempt to maintain her own victim status. You'll hear Amber repeatedly say, why are you doing this? Explain what I've done in the last 2 years. Here is what Tammy says when Amber asks her why she's doing this. Amber also states to Tammy that she didn't want to have the call anymore. I don't know why she changed her mind about wanting to have the call, but clearly she changed her mind again because Tammy kept calling her and Amber does answer.
So you're clearly watching my live stream and I said I don't feel like doing this anymore, so why are you calling?
Because you can't run my name and multiple family members in the dirt for decades and think you're just going to walk away that easy. I'm not afraid of you, Amber, unlike all your other victims. I thought I had seen and heard everything that you've done over these years, but I was so blind by your manipulation. And when I seen half of the videos that I've seen with documented proof of how you treat people, not only in our family, but people in general, you are one vile, disgusting human being, and I want nothing to do with you ever again, including your mother. But I see it so clear now that I don't want nothing to do with you. But do you think you're going to continue to lie about me and the family members that I do care about and get away with it? No, you're not.
So we can tell from this first revelation from Tammy that the reason she's doing this is because she's sick of seeing Amber get away with all of this awful behaviour, as we all are. And it comes across to me like she is absolutely done with Amber. There's so much that she's done, and there'll be more evidence of that stuff in this video, and you can go and watch any of my previous videos to get an idea of that. But if you watch Amber in the clip that I just showed you, she's rolling her eyes, she's smiling. It's pretty awful. She still has some bravado and cockiness, but luckily for us, it doesn't stay that way for long. Amber quickly changes her tune and she starts rocking from side to side. This rocking kind of gives like self-soothing slightly, but I think it's probably part of the ploy to try and make herself look like a victim. So Tammy lays into Amber a little bit. And I think although what Tammy says is very firmly spoken and very direct, and she is not going to let Amber wriggle out of anything, I don't think that she's attacking Amber. I think she's angry and she wants to share that, but I think that's okay. Being angry and telling somebody what they've done to hurt you is acceptable. And despite what Amber says and how Amber characterises the call at the end of the live, Tammy does give Amber multiple opportunities to speak. For example, after Tammy's kind of opening statement, she says this.
So that's just the tip of the iceberg. What do you want to respond to that?
So there it is, an example of Tammy giving Amber a chance to talk. And to be honest, I feel that Tammy does that quite a lot in this conversation. I know in a little while I'm going to show you some of the examples of this. But Tammy actively says things like, I don't want to talk over you, I don't want to cut you off. She lets Amber finish. Hilariously though, once Amber does finally speak, rather than defending herself from Tammy calling her vile or, going against anything that Tammy said, Amber simply asks this.
What did I do in the last 2 years to you?
Now, this is a theme that's going to pop up a lot. Amber doesn't want to give any space or any room to Tammy's feelings about things which happened a little while ago or a long time ago. Instead, Amber is insistent on trying to get Tammy to explain the last 2 years. But what Amber is purposefully missing here is the way that this is accumulated over time. It's what Hector Carner called death by 1,000 cuts. Amber is trying to make Tammy look like her point of view isn't valid because she can't give Amber one firm thing that she did in the last 2 years. But ironically, This just shows Amber's inability to understand any kind of nuance, because it's clear to everybody watching, Tammy has explained why she's doing this very clearly, and how it built up over time. Tammy explains this a little bit by saying this.
It's not an easy black or white answer, or an answer that you can get in 2 seconds, because like I keep saying, I've been doing this your whole entire life.
Now you'll have to go and watch the live to hear all of this in Tammy's words, but what basically happens here is Tammy explains how she's been there for Amber. She tried desperately to reach out to Amber and to support her and help her over a number of years. We hear this story about Tammy's first interaction with Amber when Amber was 14 and she was eating spaghetti out of the fridge. It's become kind of quite memed over the last couple of days. Here it is.
You have a person that has fought to be in your life your whole entire life in one way or the other, no matter if you've seen it or not. And you didn't meet me at 17. You met me when you were 14, when I went to California for the first time after 16 years. Remember you getting the pot of spaghetti out of the refrigerator and using the really huge utensil, taking big scoops out of the pot onto your plate, where your fucking dad said, "I think that's enough, Amber." That's my first memory of you. And you still continue to pile on your plate. Yeah, that story goes around our family year after year after year.
Now this spaghetti story is only a small thing, and it's interesting because it demonstrates Amber's food issues, which she had from a young age, but we already knew that. But it shows us that Tammy was around too. Amber goes on to claim that Tammy's lying about this, and that even her mum said that Tammy never met her when she was 14.
I don't know what the point of her telling the spaghetti story of you piling more on your plate when dad said that's enough. Yeah, like my mom listened to that and my mom's like, "Girl, you never met her when you were 14." And I was like, "I didn't think so because I could not remember that." Like, I understand I have missing memories, but I'm telling you, that wasn't like it didn't even tickle something in my brain.
I don't know if Tammy has any proof of her being there, so that's just a bit of a he said, she said situation. But like I said, Amber stays confused on purpose, in my opinion. Now, because of the way that this call was laid out, it was quite long, it was quite bitty, it's been kind of hard to analyse, so I've decided to break it down into like some sort of neat sections which relate to different points, and I'm going to run through those sections so that the video can have some nice kind of chapters and you can get the things I thought about. I'm not saying this is exhaustive, there might be some stuff that happened that I've not mentioned, so let's get into it. So this section is Amber stays confused on purpose. Amber gave us two main defences to Tammy's points, and those defences were, number one, I haven't done anything to you in the last 2 years, so effectively, you shouldn't be doing this because I haven't done anything to you. And number two, Amber claims she was dissociating. So during the live, Amber repeatedly insists that Tammy should have no issue with her because they've not fallen out in the last 2 years. When Amber first speaks in this call and Tammy gives her her initial thoughts, Amber asks this.
What did I do in the last 2 years to you?
Now, it's very interesting that Amber asks this because Amber is trying to focus on the minutiae. She's trying to ignore all of Tammy's previous grievances and effectively throw them out of court and only consider the last 2 years, where Amber knows that she hasn't really done anything wrong to Tammy, besides not be in regular contact. And she's doing this on purpose to try and invalidate Tammy's decision to go public with all of this information. The central focus of this defence from Amber is, what I did to you was many, many years ago, therefore you should have forgiven me, and thus you talking about me now is your fault and you shouldn't be doing this. That's basically her defence. In the live that Amber did the night after, the one directly after this phone call, it's this live here, Amber says this.
A lot of people were pointing out to me how hard I was gaslighted, and I didn't even realize it at the time. And then when I think back about it, I'm like, yeah, because it's just like, her and I haven't had a falling out in the last 5 years, and it's because we both like said we were going to start over and we were going to have a better relationship together, and that like stood both ways. Like she did some horrendous stuff. Like she was on Kiwi Farms, like saying awful things about me. I think she had no idea what she was talking about, and just it was very hard. And I was able to forgive her for that, and she was able to forgive me for my wrongdoings, and we moved on like past that. And then it's just like all of a sudden out of nowhere this happened, and it was it was just like, oh. So I was very much trying to like focus on like the nows of it all, because we already had that like for example, what if I randomly just like popped off on my mom, and I was like, you know what? Even though I forgave you, we're about to fucking just go crazy.
In this clip, you hear Amber try so hard to make it sound like because she and Tammy had squashed some of their beef, that Tammy has no right to be upset with her. Amber even says, I was trying to focus on the nows of it all. But Amber's saying this despite Tammy explaining everything that Amber's done to her. Despite Tammy spending the hour on the phone explaining explicitly how Amber and her mum hurt her, Amber purposefully ignores this so that she can avoid admitting to any wrongdoing and point at Tammy and try and make Tammy the bad guy. Amber's response is basically, that was ages ago, get over it. Which is really fucking ironic because Amber spends so much of her time blaming her issues on her past, or blaming them on her BPD, which she blames on her past. But God forbid somebody else holds some trauma from their past. So that is Amber's main defense, but I think that Amber is using like almost weaponized ignorance here. She's purposely ignoring the culmination of all of this stuff that's happened, things that have evolved and affected Tammy over years. Tammy's basically very long suffering. And I think Amber remains decidedly confused on purpose because admitting that she did anything wrong and she had anything to effectively apologise for would mean admitting that she does know why Tammy is doing this. It would mean giving ground or stepping back from her victim status and admitting that Tammy has a point and what she's complaining about is fair. But of course, she's never going to do that because, hello, narcissism. So she keeps saying the same thing she's been saying from the start. I don't know why you're doing this, despite Tammy telling her multiple times. Now, the other defense from Amber is her claiming that she was dissociating during this call. I have mentioned already the strange way that Amber responds during this call. I was expecting Amber to be far more aggressive, to shout at Tammy and give her what for and argue with her points and talk over her. We know that that is how Amber acts in arguments. We've heard Beck say it, we've heard Destiny say it, we've heard Emily say it, we've heard Casey say it. More about Casey later. But Amber doesn't do this in this call. She's really quiet. And like I said earlier in the video, this almost got me. This almost made me think, oh wow, Amber's really grown. But no. So Amber goes on to explain that her kind of quiet nature and lack of effectively shouting back at Tammy are because she was dissociating, and also Amber says that she couldn't get a word in edgeways and that she was in fawn mode.
Amber basically wasn't live last night. Tammy was, and Amber was a guest. Yeah, I was just like, oh my God. And it's just so crazy because I know if like I was in my fight mode, because that's the mode she was in. I know if I was in that, people would have been like, oh, Amberlynn's so horrible. And like the fact that I was like fawning and like disassociating and like literally just triggered and so hurt. People have been saying, oh, Tammy read her for filth. It's just more black and white thinking.
And this would be an acceptable defence if it was true. However, I don't believe that Amber was in fawn mode. I actually don't think that Amber was dissociating at all. We can see her face as she listens to Tammy talk, and she shakes her head, she cries, she responds. It's very clear to me that she is present, she is taking in what Tammy's saying. I think Amber usually attacks, but she just couldn't do this on this live stream because she didn't want to give the people the satisfaction of seeing her rage again. So she didn't say much and then claimed association. I saw this comment about how Amber was pretending to be calm. Look at this. This person writes, the fake calmness and fake maturity, do not mock me please, and the may I please finish. Classic narc tactics to make Tammy look like the aggressor, as though Amber hasn't been poking the bear for decades. Now, I have a few theories as to why Amber stayed so calm and how she managed this, and I think it could be because she was stoned. So Amber says at the beginning of the live that she smoked some Delta 8.
Are you intoxicated right now? You're slurring your words, eyes rolling, and acting strange. I smoked some Delta, not gonna lie about it.
So her being stoned could be a factor as to how she's managed to stay so calm in the face of, Tammy's kind of onslaught. But what I think is far more likely is that Amber wanted to appear like a meek victim. She wanted to seem like she was not the kind of person who fights back or gets aggressive. In all of the Emily stuff that we saw a couple of weekends ago, Amber was super ragey and aggressive on the stream, and she got a lot of flack for that. So I think she was trying to avoid that, and so she spent this live holding back from responding to Tammy, partially because she didn't want to get clocked for being vile and ragey again, partially because she wanted to seem like the victim and make Tammy look like she was in the wrong and she was the crazy one, but also I think partially because Tammy was spitting straight facts Amber was getting absolutely schooled by Tammy. Amber claimed that this response, this quiet rocking and not saying very much, wasn't her being gagged by Tammy.
People say that I might have been too stunned to speak for their type of narrative. Maybe I was too stunned to speak because I was like, damn, this girl is crazy. It was just like, sometimes like you hear someone talk and you're just like, this is so off the chain, like inaccurate and just wild.
And this is how far I left it open.
But I think this just sounds like a complete and total excuse to me. Amber talks about BPD and how when she's being attacked, she sometimes splits and gets aggressive back, which I don't really understand how the whole splitting thing works, but she doesn't give any real reason as to why that doesn't happen on this occasion. I think it's very likely that Amber acted out of character on this call on purpose, so she could control the narrative and make Tammy look like the bad guy. Amber claims that this quiet response to being, spoken to like this by Tammy is how she usually reacts when she's being attacked. She says this.
You act differently with Tammy. No, that's how I act when I'm like genuinely like in person. Like, if you're attacking me like that, I literally disassociate completely and I just like take it. Like, that's just like how I am. I don't know why. Unless you get me in my flight moment and then I split and I'm like attacking back. But as I've gotten older, I just like shut down.
But I, again, don't really think this is likely because we've seen her rage and shout on live many times, and we have the testimony of her exes who have all been verbally attacked by her. I also think it's unlikely and kind of weird because as soon as the call was over, Amber was quiet for like a few seconds. She kind of goes, I don't know what to say. But then she pretty much immediately starts on this I was attacked, I'm a victim narrative. Listen to this.
I didn't even get to say bye.
How do I feel about that? I feel verbally attacked, obviously.
And while I agree that Tammy was certainly extremely firm with Amber, I don't think she was particularly disrespectful. I think Tammy told Amber things that she needs to hear. An example of this is there's this whole section where Amber's explaining how she didn't want to see Tammy without her mum there. She admits that this is how she felt. She felt nervous being around family. I'll play you that clip now.
Yeah, it is true. I was feeling anxious to see my family again. And my mom is, I don't know, when I'm around her, like she's that like calmness that I need. And it's like, I know it's like sad to say, but like I felt that in all my relationships. I've always been in a relationship, and this was the first time like I was finally single and I didn't know how to be without someone right by my side. And so my mom was that for me. It had nothing to do with you. It had nothing to do, it felt easier for me to be around family that I have not seen in 14 years if my mom was there.
But then Tammy says, okay, so basically if that's the case, which you've just admitted, then whose fault is it that you haven't seen me?
It is what it is. So I'm sorry.
So whose fault is it, Amber? Is it your fault or is it my fault that we haven't seen each other? Because the narrative that you're telling is different.
So
put it out there. Whose fault is it, Amber?
Yours.
But as you've just heard, Amber says yours, which is wild, because 2 seconds ago she admitted that she didn't want to see Tammy without her mum there, which is partially why she didn't see Tammy so much. But now she's saying that it's still somehow Tammy's fault that she didn't see her. Even small things like this, Amber will never admit that anything is her fault, and it's actually kind of crazy. Even when she admits to something, she still won't take any accountability. It's so weird to see. And the way that Tammy speaks here, she's just holding Amber to what she said. She's trying to basically say, no, Amber, don't change the subject, don't look away and try and distract. Answer the question. And I think that firmly guiding somebody back to the point at hand is a completely legit way to get somebody to answer your question when they're trying to deflect. So while you could say, and I think people have been saying, that they think Tammy was horrible and harsh to Amber, some people are saying this. I mean, I don't really know how many. Most of the comments under the video seem to agree with me that Amber was being told exactly what she needed to hear. But there are some people who think that Tammy was being harsh to Amber. I don't agree. I think that Tammy was being firm and direct with Amber, which is not the same as being verbally abusive. I think Amber was experiencing somebody who isn't scared of her, and Amber doesn't like that, which is why, after the call was done and Tammy was gone, Amber starts claiming to have dissociated and have been verbally attacked. Amber even says that she was berated.
She was not composed. Like, there was name calling, there was berating, there was mocking, saying things to like purposely like hurt me and doing digs, and I didn't do any of that. Like, I made sure not to throw anyone under the bus. I made sure not to say any of her personal things. I stood by just asking why is this happening, and I still didn't get a well thought out answer. It was just very confusing to me.
I just don't agree with this. I don't think Amber was berated. I think she was firmly spoken to, sometimes angrily, but guess what, Amber? Other people are allowed to be angry too. And we hear again in the clip that I just showed you, Amber repeating her determination to stay confused. She says she stood by asking Tammy, like, why is this happening? But she was told why this was happening. Everybody else gets it apart from Amber. Now, Amber claims in the following live that this response from her, this dissociation, is a trauma response from childhood. Listen to this.
There were so many times I wanted to say something, and it's just like she just kept going and going and going. And I literally was like disassociating. I know it's like a trauma response. Like fully get it. It's just like when I'm being attacked like that, like I go into like survival mode and I either fawn or I fight. I've told you guys that.
She is so determined to make it sound like she was attacked, and I just don't think she was. She also says this, which is a bit weird.
You weren't even listening to Tammy. I was disassociating, but I was listening.
And while, sure, it seems like one can still be listening while dissociating, according to Google at least, I don't think that any of Amber's responses here seem like somebody who is truly dissociating. We see Amber directly respond to things that Tammy says. There's no like, sorry, what? Or, huh, can you repeat that? No. Amber is locked in. It didn't look like dissociating to me. As well as the whole dissociating defence, she tries to put forward this story that Tammy just spoke and gave her no chance to finish. I've mentioned this a little bit already.
It was hard to respond to like anything she was saying because she would not stop talking.
But it is objectively not true that Tammy didn't give Amber a chance to speak. Here are a couple of clips of Tammy giving Amber the chance to speak. Sorry if these are a bit messy, but you're basically hearing Tammy saying stuff like, carry on, or did you want to respond to that?
Go ahead. I don't mean to interrupt you. Any other questions?
May I finish what I'm saying?
Continue now.
I would like to speak, please.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Sure.
And as well as these instances of Tammy letting Amber speak or asking Amber if she wants to speak, there are also moments, if you watch the call, where Tammy's talking, then she pauses and she gives like a little space. And Amber doesn't say anything. She doesn't dive in or fill the space. When she could have, if she had something to say, she could have squeezed in and said it, but she doesn't.
That's how this broke down.
Okay.
So there you go.
I just don't understand what this has to do with anything.
Shows your maturity.
I think Amber was absolutely too stunned to speak. She was just shocked that Tammy was saying all of this true stuff to her and she couldn't respond. However, Amber says that that's not the case.
No, I wasn't too stunned to speak. I wasn't stunned at all. It's something I'm unfortunately used to when it comes to like her and yeah.
She's trying so hard here, like so hard to look like a victim. She even says, I'm used to that, which is wild because we know that Amber is the one who is actually verbally abusive to her partners. So that whole I'm used to it thing is just, I don't know, man, I think that's her trying to sound like a victim. I think the people who are used to Amber's onslaughts are her ex-partners. Now, I don't know if this is just a case of Amber just not being robust enough, basically, or mature enough to handle somebody directly and relatively harshly sharing their thoughts. But Amberlynn is not a baby victim who needs to be wrapped up in cotton wool. Amber herself has a long line of victims, which I think Tammy considers herself to be one of. So expecting Tammy to be polite and kind and adhere to a bunch of social conventions of being really nice all the time is neither realistic nor necessary, I think. We know that Amber can yell and shout back and scream when she wants to. She just chose not to on this occasion, and I think that that is very interesting. I think she did this to play into her like small child dissociation narrative. There's also a funny part where Amber asks Tammy not to mock her.
So I wasn't boo-hooing.
Yeah, you were.
I was crying. Can you not mock me, please? I was
Make it hard.
Now this is hilarious, because if you've seen the reaction that Amber did where she went live and reacted to Tammy and Geordie's interview, she mocks Tammy like crazy.
You know, I'm human at the end of the day.
I'm human at the end of the day.
I have 13 years of text. There's never nothing, you know,
I have 13 years of text because I kept all this info like files.
But it's fine for her to do it, right? So this next section is called Amber's manipulation. So I think it's very interesting, this whole live. Amber is trying to be manipulative, and there are some fantastic parts where Tammy just fucking calls her on it. And there's a very interesting part of this live where Tammy and Amber are discussing how often they texted and who's at fault and why they stopped talking. I didn't find all of the you text me this, you text me that stuff super interesting, so I haven't included too much of it here. But there was this key bit of the live where Amber says, I didn't know I had to text you every day. And Tammy absolutely clocks Amber on her attempt at manipulation. Watch this.
So that is finally when I was like reading between the lines of like, okay, this woman wants nothing to do with me because you didn't even invite me over for Christmas. I didn't know that I had to talk to you every single day. I didn't know. I mean, that's how I'm feeling because
You truly are a piece of work. I tell you what, your manipulation is just like it used to work. It used to work. It used to catch me. It used to slow me down and give you the benefit of the doubt. But I just see it too clearly now, and I don't even know if I want to entertain you anymore because you can't own anything.
yeah.
You have abused me, Amber. You have manipulated me, Amber, for a long time because of the love I had for my sister and for you.
Tammy is so right here. Amber is trying so hard to avoid taking any meaningful accountability, and this is something that we see Amber do a lot. It's one of the key things that reaction channels regularly call her out on, including myself, her inability to ever admit wrongdoing, and Tammy clocks it here too. And there's a lot of instances like this where Tammy won't let Amber wriggle out of being accountable, and Amber is trying to manipulate the situation and not let that happen. For example, there's this moment here. Oh, we've already done that bit. Hello, Editing Rachel here. We had in fact actually not done this bit, so I'm going to quickly dive in and do it now. So there are quite a few instances, like I've said, where Tammy won't let Amber wriggle out of being held accountable for something. And one of the great examples of this happening is this moment here where Amber is trying to make out like she felt she couldn't speak to Tammy because her mum and her grandma didn't want her to. Now just watch this clip. Watch how Amber tries to deflect and change the subject, and she looks away and pauses and claims that she's distracted by the chat. And watch how Tammy just firmly guides her back to the point at hand.
I heard through my mom how you'd cry and boo-hoo and you at her house going, well, I don't understand why I can't talk to my aunt. Why can't I talk to my aunt?
That is correct.
Is that true?
That is correct.
And what were you told? Were you told you couldn't talk to me?
I would cry because it hurt, because it's like
Were you told you couldn't talk to me? Did anyone say, Amber, don't talk to your aunt, don't call her, don't text her?
So, sorry, I was reading the chat because it's distracting me. I read between the lines.
Did anyone tell you at that point when you were boo-hooing several times about not talking to me, did my mom or my sister tell you you can't talk to me?
And we've seen Amber do this before on live streams where she's on her own, where she's got full control of the narrative. She'll pause and look away and pretend to be distracted and then change the topic. God bless Aunt Tammie for not letting this happen here. And on the topic of Grandma-lynn, in terms of Amber being manipulative, there's also this part where Amber tries to make her grandma look bad. Now, I don't know much about Grandma-lynn, and I think she might be legitimately awful, and we're going to get into Grandma-lynn and the house and all that in a minute, but I couldn't help but sensing manipulation in this section where Amber says that her grandma gets things twisted.
What I'm hearing you say is that grandma is telling you things, and I think we can both admit she gets her stories completely wrong a lot of the time. I'm around her, so I know this. I hear her speak and say stories of things that happened while I was there, and she has it so twisted and confused. I can't even believe it.
And maybe Grandma-lynn is making all of this worse and stirring the pot. It sounds like Grandma-lynn spends time with Amber and her mum and then calls Tammy and tells her all about it. And sure, Grandma-lynn might be twisting stories and trying to put people against each other. I really just don't know. But I still don't like how Amber speaks about her here. I think there's a good chance that this is just more manipulation from Amber, saying Grandma twists stories, what you hear is not real, it's Grandma who's twisting it, not me. But we know that Amber twists stories, so I don't know, it's just kind of giving every accusation is an admission, I think. Tammy also drops this bomb, which I had actually heard already from another source, but it wasn't public, so I think it's possible and likely that this is actually true. But Tammy says that Grandma-lynn doesn't even like Amber. Watch this.
It's sad because it makes me not even want to have a relationship with my grandma, because when I go over to...
She doesn't want to have a relationship with you, so don't worry about that at all. That's why you don't go over to her house. When's the last time you went over besides the very last time? Besides that one, Amber, when's the last time you were over at my mom's?
Two weekends before that.
Now, I am curious for more Grandma tea, to be honest, and I do wonder what the dynamic is here. But this line from Tammy, Grandma doesn't want a relationship with you either, does come across pretty harsh, and we can tell by Amber's facial expression that she is genuinely surprised by this, I think, and that it was tough to hear. And that does make me think that Grandma might be super two-faced, because if Amber says that they laugh and they get on really well, which she does say, but then Grandma is going to Tammy and saying that she doesn't like Amber, it does sound like Grandma is being quite manipulative there. But Tammy saying this to Amber, well, Grandma doesn't want a relationship with you anyway, it is quite harsh, and I do think that that probably is Tammy just trying to hurt Amber. It may be that it's true, but yeah, it's not very nice to tell somebody that their grandma doesn't want a relationship with them, and that does, I think, kind of come across a little bit vindictive, which leads me nicely into the next section, which is Tammy isn't perfect. And I think a lot of reaction channels are picking up on this, and I'm picking up on it. Tammy, of course, isn't perfect. And there are some parts of this phone call where Tammy is just a bit strange and says things where I'm like, huh? For example, there's this bit where Tammy tries to tell Amber that she only has one aunt.
But yet you don't know me from shit. You didn't even know how old I was.
I don't know
I'm your
anyone's
mom's
age.
younger sister by 2 years.
I don't know anyone's age.
Your mom is 56, so how could you think I was in my 40s?
Because I don't know anyone's age.
Because you don't put any energy into anything except what you do.
If I don't put any energy into everything...
You would know my date, my birthday.
Okay.
You only have one aunt.
Okay.
It's not that hard.
I have multiple aunts, but you're the only one that is in my current life. But,
I mean, if you want to talk about blood, I guess, but you have one aunt.
I don't have one aunt.
Yeah, you do.
I don't have one aunt.
And this is weird because Amber clearly does have more than one aunt. So I don't know why, like, Tammy's saying this. I guess maybe Tammy's trying to say that Amber only has one aunt who actually cares and is actually in her life. Maybe that's her point. However, what's more interesting here is Amber's body language when she responds to Tammy saying that she only has one aunt. We can see here Amber saying something that we know for a fact is true. You can see her face and her expression when Amber refutes this and goes, I don't only have one aunt. I'll play it again here. Look how she speaks and looks when she's being sincere, and we know it for a fact.
I don't have one aunt.
Yeah, you do.
I don't have one aunt.
She gives this little like face shrug, and there's a kind of simplicity and a directness to the way she speaks. She goes, I don't only have one aunt. And it's simple. There's no fluff. There's no extending of vowels. There's no weird way of speaking. There's no staring in the camera and trying to convince you. It's just, this is the truth. I don't only have one aunt. And it's very interesting to me that this is one glimpse into how Amber speaks when she is actually refuting somebody else's lie. There's none of this like, this is crazy, oh my god, what is happening? Like, there's none of that. Sorry, I hated that. But there's none of that. It's just, what you're saying isn't true. And that's very interesting to me. But anyway, the point is, Tammy isn't perfect by any means, and I don't think anybody is trying to say that she is. But I think the reason that much of Girl World can see what Tammy's doing and kind of understand it is because the stuff that Tammy is saying is stuff that we've all been saying to Amber for years, but she's never listened. Well, I haven't been saying it publicly for years, but I've been thinking it for years. So I think there's some grace for Tammy because she's telling Amber some home truths. Tammy also comes out with some stuff which does just sound very harsh.
You are one vile, disgusting human being, and I want nothing to do with you ever again.
Now, this does sound harsh, but again, I think it's true. Amber has done so many awful, awful things, so why is it wrong for Tammy to point that out? I think Amber is vile, so why shouldn't Tammy tell her that? I tell her that on, my channel, and people have said, well, Tammy should have handled it privately. But my thinking to that is, why should she? I think that Tammy doing it publicly means that Amber can't ignore it. Amber is forced to respond. It also means that Tammy, by coming out publicly, is threatening the one thing which Amber actually cares about, which is her public platform. So while I do agree that there could be some viciousness and some kind of vengeance from Tammy in doing it this way, I sort of think that the vengeance is kind of fairly placed because it sounds like Amber has been awful to Tammy. Look at the stuff that Amber has done. Does she not deserve to hear a few home truths? And if we've seen, which we have seen, how manipulative and horrible she is over text, then perhaps going to a reaction channel to get your truth out is quite an effective way of reaching Amber when you've got a message that you need her to receive. She won't listen to you behind closed doors. She needs a threat of something in order for her to actually respond and listen. Then again, Amber hasn't listened in this situation. She's just deflected and tried to make Tammy seem crazy. So arguably, although Tammy has managed to affect Amber's public image, I don't think that Amber has actually listened to anything that Tammy said. Being completely honest, I'm still not sure what I think about Tammy's motivations and her doing this publicly. So I'm a little bit unsure on that. So I'm not going to land this section in a big, statement because I'm not really sure what I think yet. But one thing that is interesting and does factor into this is we hear Tammy claim in her interview with Georgia that Amber was trying to get Tammy to watch her videos again. But Tammy didn't want to. She wanted a real life relationship with Amber, but Amber couldn't be bothered to do that. That's basically what Tammy claims. Now, Tammy actually released screenshots of this conversation between herself and Amber, but this one in particular was very telling to me. So Amber says, "Still not watching my videos?" And Tammy says, "No, I'll let you know if I ever decide to start watching them again." Amber says, "A lot is going on and it's hard to give you play-by-plays via text." Tammy says, "I have to do what's best for me right now." Fair enough. Amber says, "But for my well-being, I just can't quite wrap my head around what I'm doing in my videos that upsets you to the point of no longer supporting one of the biggest parts in my life." Tammy says, "I'm sorry you don't understand." Amber says, "Please explain some of the things I do that upset you. I want to better myself so badly and I need your help." Tammy says, "I don't want to go there. I've tried before and we just go back and forth. Either way, we communicate better through text or our relationship will fade. It's really up to you." Amber says, "I don't want to go back and forth. I won't even reply to it. I just want to listen to them." And we see Tammy telling Amber to just read the previous messages. But this is so interesting to me. Amber writes, "A lot is going on and it's hard to give you play-by-plays via text." That's so fucking lazy. Imagine if rather than giving your family member updates or having a relationship with them or fucking texting them, you say, "Oh, don't worry, I've got a YouTube channel. You can just go and watch that and catch up with me that way." It's so lazy. It's so fucking manipulative. I think it shows that Amber doesn't want to have a real deep relationship with anyone or a real kind of connection with Tammy. She'd much rather have Tammy watch the edited, well, sort of edited at the time, version of her life that she's putting on the internet. But Tammy's her aunt. Imagine your niece saying to you, sorry, it's too difficult to update you via text. Just go and watch my YouTube channel." It's so poor. And then this is also very telling. Tammy's being relatively respectful. "I have to do what's best for me. I'm sorry you don't understand." And Amber is being a fucking brat. Tammy's saying, "I have to do what's best for me," and Amber's saying, "Well, but for my well-being, what about my well-being? I can't wrap my head around what I've done in my videos to offend you." It's so strange, and it looks like, because Tammy says here, "Well, I've tried, go and read the previous messages or read old texts." So clearly Tammy has told Amber, but she's choosing to not get it for some reason, which is funny because that's exactly what she's doing right now. Tammy is telling her why she's doing this and Amber is staying confused on purpose. I just think this is so manipulative and it's so revealing about the way that Amber is. But also, I think it's a little bit rich for, in this instance, Amber wanting Tammy to interact with her via YouTube, to effectively not text her, but just watch her videos to keep up with her. So Amber's okay with Tammy using YouTube as part of their relationship when it suits her, but then she's mad at Tammy for using that same platform to effectively speak back to Amber when she's got something she wants to say. I just thought that was interesting. It's also clear to me that one of the things that Tammy most wanted to help Amber with was her weight. So when it comes to the question of why is Tammy doing this and why is she doing it now, well, I think it's because she has been watching Amber's videos, just like the rest of us have. So when she saw Amber dating and potentially, I think definitely, getting back with the feeder, Tammy wanted to call out Amber's hypocrisy, and she wanted to do it publicly. The whole internet was doing it. And I can see people's point when they say, well, Tammy's her auntie, she's not the whole internet. But Amber has shown how she is behind closed doors. And I think that Tammy was outraged by what she saw, and she knows the only way to truly reach Amber is to do something publicly. Amber's been speaking publicly about Tammy's family for years on YouTube, saying all kinds of things about her sister, about Tammy herself. Amber's lied about Tammy on YouTube. Amber's got that platform. So why shouldn't, when Tammy has something to say, be allowed to have a platform too? So this section here is regarding Tammy's experiences with Amber's uncle, or it sounds like it's Amber's father's brother, but then Tammy's posted something, I'll put it here if I can find it, where it sounds like it's Amber's father's uncle, so I'm not sure, but there's a male in the family who harms Tammy. You can skip this section if it makes you uncomfortable, I'll put a timestamp here. But this is one of the massive points that comes up during this conversation, and I think it's so telling. I'll play you this clip first, and you are going to hear Casey mentioned here, but we'll get into Casey in a sec, so just ignore that part.
I know I've made...
What about your uncle raping me? How about that for a family drama, huh? And then you go on and be a victim to others? Like, that's just weird to me. When it's such a hot spot in our family, and you put that word around like it's light as hell, right? You use the wrong word, right? When you accuse somebody, an innocent person who at the time was young as shit, you accuse them of something that they did not do. Thank God he had a voice to speak up. I had a voice to stick up over your uncle raping me, to you, to my sister, to your dad, who made you guys live with the man. Did I ever get, I'm sorry that happened to you? No, I was expected to keep taking it. I used to use the excuse, my sister had to take it because your dad would beat her up when she tried to stand up to me. Over it, right? So instead of getting the support of my family, I had to stay shut up about it so my sister didn't get beat. Okay, so that's some pretty bad shit, right? But tell me why, when we just went to California, your mom had to go see your dad. Had to go see him in person. I refused. She left me in a car so she could go in and see your dad, the man that is behind so much of this, including my chapters. The man I despise more than anything on the face of this earth. And your mom, in sobriety, in recovery, chose to go see that man eye to eye. You don't think that hurt me? But I kept taking it, right? And I kept being a sister. So you're not the only one with damage, Amber. The difference is I don't let it be an excuse. I've had some horrible things happen to me too, all while trying to help you and your mom for decades.
So what we just heard there was a lot, and it was probably quite long, but it sounds like Tammy was harmed by a man in Amber's family, and in order to stop Mamalynn from being harmed by Amber's dad, Tammy kept quiet about this thing that happened to her. And if you deep what's happening here, Tammy was hurt by this person. I'm using the word hurt obviously because I can't say the real word. And Tammy was forced to keep quiet to keep her sister safe from a man who was awful physically to her. But then later, Mamalynn, Tammy's sister, insists on leaving Tammy waiting in the car and going to speak to this man who Tammy hates more than anything, and who was the reason for so many of the issues in Tammy's life. This is actually kind of crazy. I almost feel like there'll be parts to it. There'll be Mamalynn's side, which I don't know. So Mamalynn might say, well, you know, he did all this to me and I was in my sobriety and I needed to look him in the eye and, you know, tell him something. I don't know if it might be like, look where I am and look where you are, or I can finally look you in the eye and hold you accountable for what you did to me. I don't know. There could be Mamalynn's side to the story, which if we all heard it, we'd go, okay, yeah, I can understand why she did that. So I do want to put that in here. But from Tammy's point of view, she's been massively betrayed by her sister, and I can get why Tammy is so hurt by this. And I think it really does cast some kind of doubt and shade on Mamalynn's character. If you imagine the betrayal that Tammy would feel, it would be bloody hard. And this is a fantastic example, not because it's good, but it makes the example fantastically, of one of the things that Tammy has had to go through. And if Tammy is to be believed, she still stayed around in that environment to try and support Amber. And Amber went on to blackmail her and lie to her and lie about her on YouTube, etc. So you can see why Tammy would be hurt. But also, consider this timing. Tammy has watched Amber be accused of DV by Emily. Tammy, who is a victim of DV herself, and who watched Amber's mother be a victim of DV, is now watching Amber be accused of DV, and not only be accused of it, but say she didn't do it and then accuse somebody else of it, even though there is evidence to the contrary. There's evidence that Amber is lying about the DV because of the arm photos. If you don't know about that, watch this video. You can see why this would drive Tammy fucking mad and make her want to see Amber held accountable publicly. Also, we heard Tammy make mention at the start of this clip about the Casey situation. Now, I was already considering before this phone call doing an entire video and a deep dive into the Casey situation because, my God, it's one of the worst things that Amber has ever done. But Tammy calls out Amber's use of the wrong word, and importantly, Tammy is a victim of the thing that Amber has accused Casey of. And I feel that Amber accused Casey of that just for content.
She would literally sit there and beg me. At first it was like cute little begs, like, oh, come on, baby, whatever. But then as time gradually went on, it became, you're gonna fucking touch me whether you like it or not. And I was like, you can't force me. And little did I know she can. That's when she started punching me a lot. She would aim for my belly. I don't think she ever actually hit me in the face. Her favorite spot was my stomach. She would punch me really hard in my stomach. She'd punch me like around right here a lot. She would punch me on my arms, and she would continuously do it until I agreed to make love to her or have sex, whatever you want to consider it. So not only was I being physically abused, but I was pretty much being like raped. That is what I consider it, because I continuously would say no to her.
I mean, what's the reason for me to do that? I mean, I didn't do it. And I don't know where this story came from. I didn't do it at all. The places she said about being hit, those were on me. Those were the exact places she hit me. I was the one being abused. And I will say this, I may have laid a hand on her a few times. That was in self-defense. I didn't do it, and I damn well did not rape her. I did not rape her. Period.
So once again, you can see why Tammy witnessing Amber's YouTube channel and the fallout of that accusation over the years would be so infuriating and difficult for Tammy. I think it would just add pressure to the boil of, you know, Tammy's feelings being about to pop. And remember here that Tammy knows Amber, and she's known Amber for a long time. And this is what Tammy said. I'm just going to read it out again. When you accuse somebody, an innocent person who at the time was as young as you, and you accuse them of something that they did not do. So this is Tammy saying that she believes that Amber is lying and that Casey did not do the thing that Amber accused him of. And you guys know that I also firmly believe that Amber is lying about the Casey situation. But to hear Aunt Tammie say it, who knows Amber, I think it's very, very telling. But of course, Amber sticks to her bullshit story and she doubles down on her accusations of Casey. She says this.
But one thing I will stand by is everything I said about Casey is 100% true.
I wish I could believe you, but I can't based on everything.
I don't. I genuinely.
I don't believe you.
I genuinely.
And that hurts to say it.
I don't care if you believe me or not.
Of course not.
I don't. I can't at this point. I can't. Because I know what happened because I was there. And that is something I will literally take to the last day I'm alive.
Well, the last thing I'd ever want to do is go against somebody who was actually assaulted. But all I'm saying is based on the person I know you are, I cannot believe it 100%. If it did happen to you, I'm sorry it happened to you. If it didn't happen to you, karma's a bitch.
I really appreciate Tammy saying that she wants to believe Amber. She wants to believe her. She wants to believe victims. And I think this is really important. And this is one of the absolute dichotomies that I feel about making Amberlynn Reid content, because I think that believing victims is so, so, so important. And this is why it is so harmful and bad and dangerous and wrong to lie about SA. It's wrong because you're lying about the person who did it, if you're lying, so obviously you're accusing them of something they didn't do, which is awful, but also you're harming other victims because you're adding to the numbers of people who do lie about it. Hey guys, I don't really like the way I worded this next bit in the video, so I'm sliding back in post to just kind of add my thoughts. What I'm getting at here is that one of the biggest difficulties for me covering Amber is that my natural inclination is that I want to believe all victims, obviously, but clearly when it comes to Amberlynn, this is very, very difficult because we've got reasons to think that she might be lying, but I can't in good conscience sit there and say that I believe her because I don't believe her. So it causes this difficult situation where I'm like, oh, I want to believe all victims, but Amber's a really unreliable narrator and there are good reasons to think that she's lying. I'm going to now go into another one of the things that's made me kind of raise my eyebrows or made me a bit suspicious about Amberlynn's whole Casey story, so we'll do that now. But also notice this. Amber says that she knows what happened, and she says, and these words are very important, she will take it to the last day she's alive.
Because I know what happened because I was there. And that is something I will literally take to the last day I'm alive.
Now I ask myself, why does that ring a bell? And then I remember, oh yeah, she said it about Rarity. We know that Amber lied in both versions of her Rarity story. But when we hear Amber being asked if she lied about Rarity, which we know she did, Amber says that she will take the Rarity story to her grave.
Explain the proof you lied about E letting R out. I did not lie about E letting R out. I will literally take that to my grave or to my cremation or to wherever the fuck I go once I pass on. I swear on everything and everyone.
How strange is it that Amber is using very similar phrasing again about something else which we suspect her to be lying about? We know she's lying about the Rarity story and she says, I'll take this to my grave. We suspect that she's lying about the Casey story and she says she'll take it to the last day she's alive, which is basically the same thing. But why would she use this phrase, take it to the end of my life? According to Amber, she's already told us the truth, that Casey hurt her. She's already told her story. So what is she taking to the end of her life? What's she on about here? This makes it sound like, to me, and I think that this is what's happening, that there is some other secret that she's keeping. I think she's telling on herself when she says, I'll take it to the end of my life. It's her admitting that there is a secret, there is a lie there. This phrase, I'll take it to my grave or I'll take it to the end of my life, is what people say about secrets. It's not what they say about public stories that they've already told. Unless Amber meant, I'm going to be living with this until my last days. But that's not what she said. This is very, very, very suspicious to me, and it further adds to my fucking, frankly, certainty that Amber is lying about her Casey story. I just wanted to add this as well because this is very relevant and it's timed quite nicely. In the video where Amber made the allegations about Casey, it was filmed in September of 2016. Just look at it. Look at where it's set up and how it's filmed and where Amber's sitting and the glasses she's wearing to give false credibility. Now, as you all know, I suspect that everything Amber's saying in this video is a lie, but look now at this video from just a few months earlier in the same year. This is the video where Amber lies and makes up this story about how Aunt Tammie doesn't want to speak to her because she's fat. Just watch this clip for a second and just let me cook here.
My aunt has completely stopped talking to me. I have no way of getting a hold of her whatsoever. And the reasoning is because I'm fat.
So we know for a fact that Amber is lying in this second video, the one where she accuses Tammy of not wanting to talk to her because she's fat. And we know this because Amber admitted that she was lying. But what gets me here is how similar Amber's cadence is in these two videos. Obviously, she's sat in the same place, she looks the same, she's wearing the same glasses, they were filmed in the same year. This is a time where Amber is saying sensational things on camera for content. But even down to the way Amber speaks, the way she touches her hair or her glasses, how crazy is it that these two videos are so similar? And listen to the tone of voice. In the video where Amber's accusing her auntie of not speaking to her because she's fat, she talks in this certain way and she has this certain cadence. But in the video where she's telling the story of her being harmed by Casey, she speaks the same bloody way, the same tone of voice, the same volume. She looks and darts her eyes around. She acts exactly the same.
I wanted another family, pretty much. But I was pretty much being like, and he would hit me a lot. I was probably 16. This would happen probably weekly. Everything is just like, and I was kind of just like, you know.
And she's lying in the first video, so I think this makes it very likely that she's lying in the second video. All of this to say, in this phone call with Tammy, we hear Amber double down on this story about her and Casey, but I think she's lying. And I think this is her bringing it up again when she really fucking shouldn't. Also, on this topic, during the video, Amber discusses the experience that she had when she was 7. Hopefully you know which one I'm talking about. And in this call with Casey, Amber accidentally says exactly who it was who hurt her. She says it was Kathy's daughter. So it was her brother's sister's daughter. So that is a real individual who's out in the world. I'm very curious if this is potentially going to get back to that person. So that was heavy. The next thing we're going to talk about is the drug baby story. So listen to this clip here.
Tammy lived in the Florida Keys. She had her first daughter at 16 in 88. She had her second daughter at 17 in 89. And in 1990, her sister came from California to Florida to get off drugs. Did for a little bit, got pregnant. I was in the delivery room with your mom giving birth to you, literally. Joke about that today. And then shortly after that, you were a few months old and your mom chose drugs again and left Florida Keys, went to California, and that's where the story continued of our separation, but I never gave up.
What it sounds like to me from the clip I just showed you is Amber's mum came to Oklahoma, got off drugs, got pregnant, had Amber, and then went back on drugs. This has been confirmed by Tammy. I'll put the screenshot here. Can't remember exactly what it says now because this came out after I planned this video, but it's basically Tammy confirming that Amber's mum was sober and that Amber was not a drug baby. And this would make sense. It would make sense for Amber's mum to not be on drugs while she had Amber, while she was pregnant with Amber, because the hospital would never have permitted her to take Amber home, which is exactly what we know happened to Amber's younger brother, who was a drug baby. Now, I didn't notice this. I didn't think of this. I just want to give credit to the person who made this Reddit post here. Somebody sent this Reddit post to me, so this person realised it. I did not realise it. Just want to make that really clear. But this person is right. There are loads and loads of clips of Amber claiming that she's a drug baby. I'll put a bunch of them here.
Are you a drug baby? My mom did drugs with me and her. Yes, she did. I'm a drug baby and I didn't find that out until about a year ago. My parents did drugs and they were addicted to like every drug, every pill. I was actually born a drug baby.
Interesting, huh? And as I've said, we know that Amber's younger brother was a drug baby. We also know that Amber steals other people's stories and makes them her own. And I wonder if this is an instance of Amber taking her brother's story because it would be a good way to garner sympathy. We know Amber's a liar. We know she says ridiculous things to get attention. She's been doing it on YouTube for years. And I rather suspect that this drug baby story is an instance of that happening. So this section is the house and Grandma-lynn. I've mentioned Grandma a little bit already, but we're going to get a bit more into that now. So this is another thing that I found so interesting throughout this phone call. We finally find out the real reason that Mamalynn and Tammy aren't speaking, and it's quite fascinating. So Tammy asks Amber to explain it, and this is the conversation that ensues.
Do you know why me and your mom's not talking?
Yes.
Can you tell me the reason?
My mom thought she was getting Grandma's house. Obviously that meant a lot to her because my mom loves Grandma with all her heart.
Well, I'm going to make it clear the true story.
I
That
didn't
way
get
it's
to.
on this recording.
I didn't
and
get
you
to.
can share it with your mom, and you can share it with all your people, and then the truth will be out whenever you're done with your side.
I didn't get to finish.
I'm sorry.
May I ask you why you think this matters in this moment?
Because it shows you guys' character, your behavior, what I put up with in this family, what I have put up with, what I still put up with.
To me, it feels like your goal in this like going public thing is to make my mom look bad and to make me look worse.
No,
And
it's to show that your mom, just because she got clean and sober, doesn't make you a good person automatically. There's still behaviors that need to be changed.
my mom,
And this was a big one. At the end of the day, your mom says that she is a Christian and she's in sobriety, and she, you have to learn to forgive, right? But when the thing happened about the house, which we still haven't covered, when it happened though, and it wasn't my doing, it started with my mom, and I handled it the correct way. Sister got mad at me. So when we're in California, my mom starts it, not me. She starts the conversation over and over how people are saying it's not fair that most families split it 50-50, yada, yada, yada. Sister overhears this and questions, What was that? And I tell her, now is not the time. She says, no, I already heard it. And I already have it set in my mind that that's my house. Well, it gets worse. And the only reason why I'm letting this out is for me. Not for you, not for sister, not for my mom. This is for me. My mom and I went to her lawyers, had her trust changed. Totally different scenario. And she wanted to die having my sister think that she's getting that house. And when that trust is read, boy, would your mom's head would have fucking turned.
If this is true, it makes Mamalynn look very selfish and very grabby. It almost sounds like this whole thing of the will changing would have been news to Mamalynn, because the way that Tammy says it makes it sound like people didn't know, and maybe Mamalynn didn't know. I think it's interesting and maybe kind of telling about the grandma's character that she was willing to not have this conversation and die and let Mamalynn find out the truth of her decision after she was dead. To me, that comes across as kind of dodgy, but then again, I admit there's context I don't have. I've never written a will, so I don't know. But it does kind of sound like Grandma-lynn might be a little bit of a bitch. Now, I touched earlier on how Tammy cuts through Amberlynn's BS, basically, and I just wanted to analyse this clip with you. So Tammy, to be honest, just roasts Amber in this clip, I think deservedly. Listen to what Tammy says.
You don't want to talk about things that happened in your 20s, just years ago, right? But yet you think it's okay to talk about every single thing that happened since the day you were born and use it as an excuse to be the person that you are today.
Because unfortunately, the things that I went through when I was younger, which I only recently found out a couple years ago, led me to have literally brain deformities, which is what is caused borderline personality disorder. So unfortunately, these are things that I'm dealing with every single day.
So why don't you get help,
and I'm
Amber,
trying,
so you keep hurting people in the way?
and I'm trying very, very hard to learn the difference between excuse and reason, because I am tired of making excuses, and now it's just a reason for the way I am and the reason for the way I've acted in the past and current times. And I'm trying very hard to focus on being a better person.
Well, I sincerely wish you all the best in that. You do need some professional help. I know you say that you've gotten it from time to time, but just sitting over a phone call or a video is not extensive help. You need really inpatient at the end of the day, but I know that will never happen. But you really do. You really need to take some of your money that you're making off this crap and get yourself some real help from a real counselor, face-to-face, weekly meetings, true medication that can help you, and maybe you can come out on the other side. But all this, the phone calls, the apps and all that, it's not the same. It's not the same. And you do self-diagnose a lot. I hear it. And so you do have some issues. I'm not saying that you don't. Of course you do.
May I know?
But you need professional help to diagnose and treat.
May I know what I have self-diagnosed myself as?
Oh my God, so many. Just watch your videos. I don't have time
If
for
it's
it.
so
There's
many,
too many.
I
There's
would
too many.
I would like you just to name one then.
Just anything. OCD.
That was
DPD, BPOPD. I don't know. Put all the letters in there. I don't give a fuck.
BPD. See, this is where it's like you're supposed to be my aunt, and whether you're angry or
Yeah,
not.
I was supposed to be.
Whether
All
you're
right, I'm not no more.
whether you're angry or not, like I don't understand like how it's so easy for you to mock mental illnesses that I have.
Amber, I have just as much labels, if not more, than you do. Documented, proved, treated, you name it. I would never make light. It takes a lot to get through these things, but it takes a lot of work that I've put into it. You got me to this point because I've held on for so long. And every time I turn on the fucking TV and I look into my niece, I see more and more and more. And it's disgusting.
I think that maybe something what you need to do is probably log off and stop watching my YouTube.
I've tried that before. Do I need to show those fucking receipts too? Or I told you I need to quit watching your videos for my own mental health? And then the text comes, Auntie, are you watching my videos again? No. I really wish you would watch them. I'm sorry, Amber, I can't right now. I am not just another YouTuber. I am your aunt. I want to build a relationship with you, not through YouTube. I shouldn't find out about everything about your life through your YouTube channel. Until you can do that, I'm not watching no more. A couple weeks later, you come back. You watching my videos again? You don't give a fuck about my mental health.
You are talking about things that genuinely happened
20 years ago, yeah.
so long ago. It's like crazy.
It doesn't. So if things that happened years and years ago don't matter, then quit bringing up your past as if they do.
They definitely matter, but like I'm trying to understand, because the whole point of all of this that is happening is because of like recent things within the last couple of years, and I'm genuinely confused. And I still stay confused, and we've been on this conversation for an hour, and it's like I still don't have an answer.
Because people like you can't see it for what it is. It's just that clear. I mean, I could talk till I'm blue in the face till midnight. And we'll probably still stay right here with you not understanding what's right in front of your face.
Now, this clip contains obviously the classic Amberlynn excuses, and I think it's quite refreshing to hear Tammy basically tell Amber exactly what she needs to hear. And Tammy literally says, why don't you get help and stop going around hurting people in your wake? And I think she's bloody right. But we also hear Amber use her classic BPD excuse. She says something about having a deformed brain, and this just goes to show that obviously BPD is an excuse for Amber. She'll plead childishness and BPD at every possible opportunity, and it's genuinely exhausting. I'm not, a psychologist, but from what I saw on Google, it looks like BPD is not classed as a brain deformity. So I don't know, but I'm inclined to think that once again this is just a grab by Amber at being the victim. But crucially and interestingly here, Amber claims that she's tired of making excuses and that now it's just a reason. And I've covered the difference between reasons and excuses from Amber in the past, and I've also covered the BPD lies and my theories about all of that. But I think it's very interesting that Amber has identified that there's a difference between an excuse and a reason, and yet even though she says the words, and this is what Amber does, she says the right thing, she talks the talk, it's not an excuse, it's a reason. I understand the difference between both. She absolutely doesn't. So hearing Amber say here that she doesn't want to make excuses but then make a million excuses is really funny, and it's actually kind of trippy to watch. So next we have Amber and Mamalynn's relationship. There were a couple more interesting tidbits that helped us to see how Mamalynn and Amber get on. And we hear Tammy say this when she's discussing Amber moving to Oklahoma.
Who is the happiest person in this world for Amber to move to Oklahoma City? It was me, your aunt. Your mom didn't want you to come. She was very nervous about you coming because of the destruction and stress level that you bring with your just presence. That's the truth. I, against my whole entire family, would say things like, I know you guys are worried, but I'm so excited. We have text showing that excitement for when you're going to get here. We're going to hang out. We can't wait. We can't wait.
So that was wild. And it's kind of interesting to me here how truthful Tammy sounds when she says that she wanted Amber to come and that she was excited for her to come. But then Amber says, your mum didn't want you to come. And she explains how she was nervous of Amber coming because she brings drama with her. And I can picture this. I think Mamalynn had a peaceful life. She's in sobriety. Why would she want her 30-plus-year-old toddler of a daughter suddenly moving to live near her and expect her to be her caretaker? Because remember, Amber was more than happy to not live near her mum when she had partners who she could extort. But once she broke up with her girlfriend and had no one to take care of her, all of a sudden she wants to be near her mum again. And Amber's shown time and time again that she is the drama. She brings the drama, so you can see why Mamalynn wouldn't want her there. Then there's this whole section where Tammy explains how Amber would expect her mum to take time off work to take her places, including to the vet.
You act like you have a great relationship with my sister today, and that's a lie. You talk horribly to my sister. You treat her like shit. You make her your taxi, your Uber, your this, your that. I hear it all, Amber. You have treated my sister like shit so many times since you've been here. And you try to control her. And you make her take time off work to do the stupidest shit. Things that you could schedule when she's not at work. But because you only think of you do it over and over and over and over and over again.
Amber says that she's finally found a vet, which does weekend appointments, so Mamalynn hasn't had to take time off. But Amber's lived there for 2 years now. So pretty tragic that she was expecting her mum to take time off this entire time. I think Amber just feels that she's entitled to her mum's time. There's this bit where Amber says that she sees her mum every Saturday. And this kind of reminds me of after Amber and Destiny broke up, Amber claiming that she was supposed to see Destiny every Sunday and her kicking off and being a brat when she didn't get what she wanted. And again, this just shows there's probably no change, because I can imagine that if Mamalynn had something else she wanted to do that Saturday, Amber probably wouldn't take this very well. I don't know or have any evidence of this, but it's just a theory that I've got. We also hear Tammy explain how Amber and her grandma had a falling out over Amber asking her mum to give her Ozempic shots.
On my birthday, we got into an argument. We did. But I mean,
also got into it about having my sister give you your shots too, right?
So I started crying and my mom was like explaining how she's totally fine with it and stuff, and it started to make me feel guilty, where I was like, is my mom actually like just saying she's not triggered? But no, she's not triggered because she wants to take...
You made her be like that, Amber. You made her feel like she can't tell you no because you keep bringing up the past all the time.
May I finish what I was saying?
Now she owes you everything. So yeah, she's afraid to tell you no.
May
she
I
didn't want
finish?
to do that.
We just heard Tammy say, you made her like that, Amber. You made her feel like she can't tell you no. And crucially, Tammy claims that Amber keeps on bringing up the past. And we've seen Amber do this in her vlogs. We've seen her have moments where she mentions things that are just awkward and embarrassing for Mamalynn. And it feels like Amber is trying to remind Mamalynn constantly that she gave Amber a bad childhood and that she owes Amber. There's this interesting section where Tammy talks about Amber waking up at 3 p.m. and holding everyone up.
You don't get up till after 3, so my sister can't do this or that with my mom because, you know, Amber, she don't get up till after 3. I don't know how many times I'd hear that over and over and over again. She can't make any plans with my mom to go do her nails or bingo anymore because she has to Amber. It's all about Amber.
I think this is pretty interesting, and I can imagine it. We saw the text released by Destiny and Beck. Amber seems to have main character-itis. She seems to think that what she wants to do and what she is doing is the most important thing. And can I imagine her staying in bed until 3 and then expecting everyone to suddenly be there for her when she's ready? Yeah, I can. Tammy then goes on to talk about how Amber hasn't changed at all. Listen to this.
Again, I'm not in my 20s anymore. So
I'm not talking about just your 20s.
We obviously are. Because, I mean, me and you, we haven't even talked in 2 years. So it's like, how can you sit there and, like, still hold me to some standard of who I was in my 20s or when we talked more? I've changed even in the last year.
Have you watched your videos, Amber? You are recycle, repeat. Okay. Like, there's nothing new about you right now. You are the same person you were yesterday, last week, last month, last year. Watch your videos. Watch reaction videos. It shows it over and over again. Rinse. Cycle, replay. You haven't changed, Amber.
I know that not everyone agrees with Tammy's method of reaching Amber here, but oh my god, if she isn't saying exactly what everyone's been thinking. We see Tammy say to Amber here, watch your own videos, watch reaction channels. We know that Tammy has seen Mr. Snowflake's Victims of an Empath series. We know that she's seen Studio Deet's video about Darvo. But how interesting that she knows Amber. Amber is her family member. She clearly feels defensive and caring towards Amber, or she did at one point. But when she watches these videos, instead of jumping to Amber's defense and saying, no, this isn't right, I know her, she would never do that, don't spread shit about my niece. Instead, she says well done to these creators. She says that they've opened her eyes and shown her more truth. She says, yes, I can see Amber's patterns now. This is her auntie who loved her at one point who is saying this, and I think it's very telling. It could be telling because Tammy's just hateful and horrible and just as bad as Amber is, and is just stirring the pot and loving seeing anything negative said about Amber. But because of how convincing that Tammy is when she shows her love and affection in Amber's childhood and through Amber's teenage years, I think it's probably not the case. I don't think it's likely that Tammy's just enjoying saying more awful things about Amber. And another reason why I don't believe this is because when Geordie asks Tammy, do you think Amber let Rarity out? Tammy says no, she doesn't think Amber would do that. If she was just here for the drama and to punish Amber as much as she possibly could, she would have said, yeah, of course she let the cat out. But crucially, Tammy didn't say that, even though loads of Girl World are saying it. And I think that shows something of Tammy's motivation and her character. In her recent live, the one that Amber abruptly stopped at the half-hour mark because the chat was turning against her, despite her asking the chat to roast her.
Because I feel so gaslit. And I'm like, are the reaction channels and the haters right? Like, I'm so genuinely confused. But then when I see other YouTubers who do the same thing I do, I see them in my DMs sticking up for me and like saying, like, girl, like, I am so sorry you go through this. It makes me realize, like, no, like, I'm genuinely just constantly gaslit into thinking I'm this like fucking awful, horrendous person when that's just like not reality. Like, that is not reality. Like, you don't see people like Jordy and the ankle fucking getting messages from like real normal people. It's people who are just like so clouded in their judgment, and it's just all black and white thinking. People forget that there's gray areas. Like, yikes. And I'm just so grateful for the people who like know how to like use up here more.
As I said already in this video, it's always really funny to me when Amber claims that reaction channels have no nuance and that they're just black and white. I think that referring to all reaction channels in one blanket statement lacks nuance and is a black and white take, so I just think that's kind of funny. And you absolutely cannot say that all reaction channels have no nuance. It's just not true. I've tried to show nuance in this video. I think there are lots of other creators who show nuance. Amber thinks that anybody who doesn't love her and blow smoke up her ass is a nasty hater and shows no nuance, which is really funny because that's a really black and white way of seeing it. I think there are probably some reaction channels that are far more critical than others. I'm very critical of her, but that doesn't mean that I have no nuance. I think there are reaction channels of every flavour. It's like an ice cream shop. There's something for everyone. Some of them have been doing it for a really long time and are absolutely sick of Amber's antics, and then there are some that are more understanding, some that are more silly or analytical or critical or harsh, some that go for a more funny approach. There's all different kinds of stuff, but I don't think it's true that all of them lack nuance. So that's everything that I got out in this video. This script is nearly 7,000 words long and I've been filming for getting on for 2 hours now. So the video is going to be long. So I am going to leave it there, but I know there's more stuff. There's more little bits that could be picked up on and things that could be said. So please, by all means, if you've noticed anything else, drop me a comment. I'll have a little read of those and see if it might be worth making a follow-up or if there's anything else that we can pick up on. I think we're done. That was a long video, but thank you guys so much for your time and for watching. I'm going to get to editing now and I'm hoping I can get this video out today. Today is the 20th of August. Either way, I appreciate you guys watching so much. Thank you for all the support on my channel recently. We're nearly at 45,000 subscribers, which is fucking mind-blowing because in December when I posted my first Girl World video, I had like 7,500 subscribers. So it's kind of crazy. So I appreciate you all and thanks for the support. I think I'm going to leave that one there. Okay, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.